Hello there, welcome back to Janice's English class. Today I have a great lesson planned for you. And you know what? Today we're going to be talking about poetry. So it's basically poetry in general, but except we're going to be focusing on the features of a poem. You know, in poems, what do you see in a poem? Similes, metaphors. We're going to be looking a bit more deeper into the features of a poem and why they are effective in the poem itself. So I've got a great lesson planned for you. It's been a long time since I posted, and nowadays I'm going to be posting more videos on poetry because I've studied more about it and I feel like I'm free to teach it to you guys. So let's get started. Alright, so firstly I'm going to be saying my definition of a poem. So poetry to me is a piece of writing that expresses the feelings and emotions of a poet. I write a lot of poems and I try to add as much emotion in there as possible, no matter if it's like a sad poem, a somber tone, or even if it's like a humorous limerick. I always try to add that sort of emotion that fits with the poem's theme. So poetry can be made up of many types, like rhyming or metaphors. Personally, I like metaphorical poems. They just sound better to me. I also like rhyming poems. They're more funny, more joyful, and I tend to write more metaphorical poems just because I read more of them nowadays. And poetry is usually written in the form of eulogizing eloquence. Eulogizing eloquence is, a beautiful poetry beauty of writing. It makes people feel something. Poems can send a message to the reader or even serve a humorous purpose like I mentioned before. So what kind of poems do you like? If you want to find out more about poems, you can watch an old video I've posted on the types of poetry and poetic justice too. I recently posted a video on me analyzing the poem, The Road Not Taken. You can go check out that as well. Alright, so firstly we're going to be talking about imagery. Imagery is a very selective and interesting source we use in poetry. And there are actually 5 types of imagery that we will use in everyday life. When we're writing a poem, I would normally use visual imagery. And now there's 4 others in that, and now we're going to learn it. So the first kind of imagery is auditory. Auditory imagery is describing the music, the sound, the kind of noise and silence, the atmosphere. So it's basically something that you can hear in the environment. Auditory imagery. The next kind of imagery is tactile imagery. Tactile imagery is the texture, the movement, and the temperature of the environment. So for example, I was writing a poem about the beach. I would say the sand feels rusty and soft. That's kind of contradicting. See how it brings an effect? Our next kind of imagery is gustatory imagery. Gustatory imagery is the taste of something. So, for example, you taste a candy, it might be sweet, it might be sour. Or, here are some words to describe. Sour, sweet, acidic, bitter, salty. Gustatory imagery. Our next kind of imagery is olfactory imagery. This is a more interesting kind. So, olfactory imagery is basically the smell of something. So if I was in a classroom, it might smell normal. There's actually no way to describe it, but you can try to bring words that make the environment feel alive. The fragrance to describe the unpleasant smells. Lastly, we have visual imagery, the most popular kind of imagery, describing what you see in front of you. Maybe to your left, maybe to your right. Objects, shapes, colors, and patterns. Now here is an example of a poem I found. Now Look how the poet has used imagery effectively to describe the objects that are white. And also look at how the topic can be used literally or figuratively. I'll give you some time to read the poem. Alright, that's imagery. Thank you. Let's move on to our next kind of feature of a poem. Next, we're going to be looking at metaphors in poems. Like I said before, I love metaphors in poems. They make everything seem a lot better. Now, a metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two things without using like or as, but the two things have something in common. So here's the difference between a simile and a metaphor. A simile compares two things using like or as. For example, her smile is like the sun. But a metaphor compares two things without using like or as. Here are some examples of metaphors you might hear or you might use. Life is a box of chocolates. Some are good, some are bad. She is a walking dictionary. She's so smart. Or maybe you've heard your parents say this. Time is money. Lastly, life is a roller coaster. Ups and downs. Now we're going to be looking at a metaphorical poem. Now this poem by Langston Hughes called Dreams is a poem that uses a lot of metaphorical techniques to make this poem so memorable. Let's read it. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen with snow. Let's look at the first stanza. A very short poem, but it sends a very great message of how you need to hold on to your dreams and do what you like. So it's saying, keep holding onto your dreams. If dreams die out, you let go of them. Life is a broken-winged bird. A broken-winged bird cannot fly, so it's hopeless. It's comparing life with a broken-winged bird if dreams die. There's also rhyming over there. Our next stanza. Hold fast to dreams. Hold them. It may wear out. For when dreams go, where you have no interest in them anymore, life is a barren field. Barren field means a field with nothing on it. No plant, no vegetation, just a land with dirt and soil, frozen with snow. It's frozen, it cannot grow anymore. So this poem uses a lot of metaphors like life is a broken-winged bird and life is a barren field. You can learn from this poem. Type in my website chat box about what you think about this poem or if you have ever heard of it before. Lastly, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciated you clicking on this video. Please remember to like and subscribe. Turn on notification bell for new videos coming up every single weekend. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned some features of poems. Remember, these things I'm teaching you is actually very useful. I use them in school. I use them everywhere actually. I love writing poetry. So thank you for watching and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.